breaking news this afternoon. Our senior insider, Charania, joins us now. Shams, you reported a couple of hours ago that Tyrese Haliburton did tear his Achilles last night. What more can you tell us about this devastating injury?
George, I'm told that Tyrese Haliburton will be undergoing surgery to repair that right Achilles tendon tear very soon. The surgery is imminent, and that injury timeline will likely put him out for the entire 2025-26 NBA season. And remember, this is a player that gutted out a calf strain and ankle issues all during the NBA Finals on that same right leg in that Achilles area. And then last night suffers the Achilles tear. He's had a memorable playoff run over the last year. He's risen to superstardom in the NBA, but his Achilles tear now likely puts him out all of next season.
Thank you, Shams. We will connect with you here in just a few moments as well, so thanks again. Now, Perk, what's your reaction to this news that Tyrese did in fact tear his Achilles, and as you heard Shams say, will be out next season?
Well, first, praying for him, for a speedy recovery, for him to get back on the floor. You don't want to see a guy go down like that, and especially on the stage like that. But, Wendy, here we are again, right? It seemed like every single time you and I are sharing this platform together when it comes down to addressing this situation. And I understand you want to be out there on the floor. We go back to 2019. Wendy, you and I were covering the NBA Finals. Danny, you were actually in the NBA Finals about to win your championship with the Toronto Raptors. And I said the same thing to Kevin Durant, right? I told him to his face, and I said it publicly, I wouldn't play. The calf injury, man, it's nothing to play with. History tells us that, and I hate it for him because you have that balance. You want to be out there, but at the same time, you're the Indiana Pacers. You have $200+ million that is invested into Tyrese Haliburton. And the thing is, you have to protect your guy. You have to protect your guy. I know he wanted to be out there, but I think a hard conversation needed to be had that he needed to sit out the remaining of this NBA Finals and gear up to getting healthy so that he can make sure he's available for next season. Now, all of a sudden, we're here now where Shams is reporting that he's going to miss next season, and it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, Perk, those are two of the worst things I've ever witnessed in the NBA, remembering KD leaving the arena. In the case in 2019, he left the arena during the game, got in an airplane and flew to New York to have surgery the next day. In this case, Tyrese Haliburton off to an absolutely brilliant start to this game. We know that Tyrese, when he gets off to great starts, it changes his whole mentality. When he hits his first few shots, we also know that when he scores over 20 points, the Pacers are next to unbeatable. So he is experiencing like this dream situation where he is having a great start, potentially a great game in Game 7 of the Finals, and then he falls. And the reason he's so upset, George, is you watched him get carried to the back, isn't just because his pain is so deep. It's because he knows that he was having an incredible moment that he had dreamed of that had slipped away, and he knew it in that moment. And look, here's the problem. The problem is he had played in Game 6 and been able to really play well and trust the leg and get it done. And so that's the thing that's so tricky. And that's one of the reasons why when you see calf strains, you often see players get shut down for weeks. Even though it doesn't seem like it would be that severe of an injury, they get shut down for weeks for this exact reason because of this. And it's just a heartbreaking situation, and unfortunately, the Pacers will now deal with it next year, and we have the Eastern Conference completely reshaped by torn Achilles tendons to Jason Tatum, Tyrese Haliburton, and Damian Lillard next season.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man, to see. But most players, most guys will say, is it worth putting your calf on the line for an NBA championship? Most guys would say yes, right? Obviously, granted, the situation, the injury that happened, you can't predict that it's going to happen, but it's like, will I push it? You kind of put that on the line for that. But sometimes, like Perk said, you got to have the organization has to have your back and protect you from yourself sometimes. But if you ask Tyrese, would he change things? He might not. He give himself a chance to win NBA championship, Game 7, everything on the line. These are the moments that you live for. But with that being said, the East is wide open, like Wendy said. Teams like Orlando, Milwaukee, obviously Cleveland and New York are the heavy favorites, but those other teams, they have a chance now to have a window to make it to Eastern Conference Finals, if not the finals next year.
Tons of respect at that level for sure in the finals. A memorable playoff run for the Pacers despite the loss, but the lasting image of Game 7 might end up being Tyrese Haliburton going down just 7 minutes into the game. Our Charania reported earlier that Haliburton has a torn Achilles. The NBA world reacted on social media last night to the crushing scene. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was guarding Haliburton on that play, spoke about it after the game.
My heart dropped for him. I couldn't imagine playing the biggest game of my life and something like that happening. It's so unfortunate. It's not fair. But competition isn't fair sometimes. But yeah, I just felt so bad for him. And just asked if he was okay. Obviously, he wasn't. But prayers go out to him for sure. Hell of a player.
He authored one of the great individual playoff runs in the history of the NBA with dramatic play after dramatic play. It was just something that no one's ever seen.
Yeah, Danny, I would echo those sentiments of Rick Carlisle. A postseason to remember for Haliburton. In case you need a reminder, first round, Game 5 against the Bucks, trailing by 7, 40 seconds left in OT. Haliburton beat Giannis on the game winner.
From Mr. Overrated to Mr. Clutch. He had time and time again, clutch basket after clutch basket, all throughout the whole postseason.
Second round against the Cavs in Game 2 on the road. Another 7-point comeback here. Left his mark in this one with a step back.
Anytime the game was on the line, he wanted the ball, and he showed why.
Conference Finals, this is the shot everybody's going to remember.
This was the one.
At the Garden.
Don't do him like that and give him the Reggie choke sign.
Sent them to OT and then finished the deal there.
Iconic moment.
And then Game 1 of the Finals, I'm right there at that scorer's table. I had a perfect view of that. 0.3 seconds left.
You don't see that often for the mid-range game winner.
What a pull-up there. And a clutch run unlike anything we've ever seen from Tyrese Haliburton.
Unbelievable.
With Haliburton's 26th season, Danny, in jeopardy, the Pacers have 15-1 odds to return to the finals at the moment. 6 shortest odds in the conference. The Cavs, Knicks, Magic, Celtics, and Sixers all have shorter odds to be East champs. Our front office insider, Bobby Marks, joining us now. The Pacers had an amazing run, as we highlighted there, Bobby, but this Haliburton injury puts a real dark cloud over their future. So, Bobby, how do things look for Indy heading into the offseason?
Well, I think, George, it certainly starts with the free agency of Miles Turner, the top center on the free agent market. What happens with Miles Turner in light of this Tyrese Haliburton injury? As Brian and Shams had reported, Indiana was willing to pay the luxury tax to bring Miles Turner back. They have not done so since 2006. What happens with Turner? This market is not great out there unless you are re-signing with your own team. And if Turner does re-sign, what happens to the future of Benedict Mathurin, who is rookie extension eligible? He could be a free agent in the 2026 offseason. And then certainly Aaron Nesmith, who has 2 years left on his contract and is also extension eligible for up to 3 years, $64 million. Remember, the strength of this Indiana team was their bench. And does the Haliburton injury coupled with a Turner new contract, does that diminish moving forward here?
So, Bobby, the East is wide open as we go into next season, more so than I can remember for sure. Where do the Pacers stack up in the East moving forward here?
You know what, George? I had 3 revisions for their offseason article going into last night, and we had to write a 4th one based on the Haliburton injury. And the prior 3, they were the favorite. They were the favorite in the Eastern Conference along with Oklahoma City out west. And I think last night certainly changes that, where now they are in a position similar to where Boston is with the Jason Tatum injury, where Milwaukee is with the Damian Lillard injury. We're looking at Cleveland, certainly in New York. The Cavs finished with the best record. Those 2 teams should be the favorites. And then, of course, Orlando, and then as we see here, Boston. And we're not talking about last year's offseason winner, Philadelphia. Certainly keep an eye on Philadelphia if that roster can stay healthy.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Pacers, they're clearly one of the deepest teams in the league. So on one hand, they can survive an injury, but on the other, they are so geared toward the way Tyrese Haliburton plays with their high-speed attack. They've really built their entire team around Haliburton. When Rick Carlisle got there to be the head coach, his number one priority was to get a point guard, specifically Tyrese Haliburton, who he wanted to draft in Dallas before he left the Mavericks. And so I believe the Pacers are still going to be extremely formidable with this team. The question, as Bobby raises, is I do think they're going to prioritize re-signing Miles Turner. The question is, will they go into the luxury tax to do so? Meaning, would they take another player, potentially they would push him into luxury tax and trade him to save money? That's probably something that they're having hard conversations and considering after they deal with taking care of Tyrese Haliburton having surgery very soon to get that addressed.
Danny, it's interesting to Brian's point about the offense being his, basically. Rick Carlisle famously had not turned the reins over to very many point guards. He did that with Haliburton from their first dinner together when he got traded from Sacramento. So certainly a big blow to them in that regard.
Definitely, but I got to give Pascal Siakam a lot more credit. And also their backup. Bob Myers said something when I was watching the finals. They have some of the two best backup point guards in the league with Nembhard and T.J. McConnell. They're going to get their money's worth out of these two guys. So this team is still a very good team, top 6 team in my eyes as a playoff for next year. The East is wide open. And because of the chemistry and the bond they have, the gel they have, they could be a sleeper team to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals again, like a Miami Heat has done in the past. So I like what they have. I like the depth they have. They signed Nesmith back and Mathurin back, keep Miles Turner. This is a really good group and a team that's definitely a playoff perspective and could be a sleeper that can get into that Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, Kevin Pritchard's done a phenomenal job building that roster for sure. So.